Friday morning, about 9:30, as I'm on my way to work. My usual route was blocked due to an accident being cleared up, so I took the quieter, longer route through the Indishville Park east of my house. I passed the only gas station on my way in, and I headed through the park, which is quiet, except for diesel trucks and the rare car like my own. As I come over a small hill and over a set of train tracks, I see a car pulled over to the side with its hood up, and a guy just standing there next to the driver's side door, looking at me as I approached the hill. The car was a copper-colored two-door sports car from the late 70s or early 80s. Nissan, I think. I'm usually pretty good with cars, but the guy distracted me, and he looked straight out of the late 70s. I'll never forget this guy. Blue jeans, white shirt collars showing above his coat, tan work boots, darkish tan 70s style leather coat with wool showing at the collar, and a thick dark mustache. And he also had a John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever haircut. He was a bigger guy, probably in his mid-40s and around 6 feet tall or so. He had a bit of a gut, but clearly a thick dude who wasn't in bad shape. His hands were deep in his pockets, but his feet planted firmly, and he had his back straight up. As I see him, I slow down to see what the problem is, and I start to pull over to get behind his car, and he's just staring at me the entire time. There were no nods or gestures saying hello, or even any hands waving to signal me. No smile, nothing. Just staring with his face perfectly flat, hands in pockets, and not moving. I get this super creepy feeling, and as I'm about to pull over, I pull away and sped off and said, "But that's usually very unlike me. I often like to stop to help people all the time, but this guy just gave me a bad feeling I couldn't shake." As I look into the rearview mirror, I see he's not moved, but just turned his head a little bit to watch me go. As I watch, he turns back to stare west over the tracks for the next car to come along. I get to work, and I'm feeling bad that I didn't help the guy out, but I tell my boss and close friend about the encounter. And he tells me he gets creeped out just hearing about it, and I should be glad I trusted my gut instinct. I don't think about it much more, and I get to work. But on my way home, I took that route back home just to see if his car was left there, just in case he had a real problem. But sure enough, it was gone. Feeling relieved he had at least gotten his car taken care of, I felt less bad about not helping some stranger, because I got weirded out by his appearance and demeanor for some reason. So I get home and go to sleep, and I think nothing of it. I actually worked Saturdays at the time, and I always took the long way to work on Saturdays, since I didn't have to worry about traffic as much. Come 9:30 the next day, I'm heading the same way to work that I took the day before. But because the industrial park is full of Monday to Friday type companies, it's always a ghost town on the weekends and evenings. When I came home the previous night, I drove for 15 minutes in that area. Really low speed limits, and it's a long road through. And I did not see another car on the road there. Even the gas station closes its inside operations on Saturdays and evenings after 6. He was never around that area during these off-time hours. So I'm driving up the hill, and sure enough, the same guy is there again. Same car, same spot with his hood up and standing next to the driver's side door. If I hadn't been so creeped out by the guy the day before, I may not have noticed how eerily similar it was, like he somehow hadn't moved since the day before. This time, however, he reacted to seeing me, pulling a hand out of his pocket and trying to wave me down, but without moving his feet and clearly yelling something. I sped up, and he clearly heard my tin can of a Toyota rev up, and I kid you not, He put both hands up and moved as if to step in front of my car to block me. His face never changed the whole time. Just that blank stare as he started to step in front of my car into the 2-lane road I was on. I swerved a little to avoid hitting him, and I kept going. But now here's the thing. That section of the road is straight for quite a ways. Though I was really shaken up by the encounter, I looked at my mirror to see him just step back to his car and keep staring west, just like the day before. Like a stranger hadn't just swerved to avoid killing him and leaving him to his own devices. He was really weird. I'm glad to say I never saw him again after that. But I did call my local police, of whom I personally know several officers, one of which was a neighbor, thinking maybe he really did have a problem. At the time, a few things stood out to me though. Thinking that the day before the gas station would have been open, and if he didn't have a cell phone, it was less than a block away, and he would have had to have passed it in order to be on that particular stretch of road. There's no way he couldn't have seen it and been where he was supposedly broken down. I hadn't thought of it Friday, but it struck me hard Saturday when I saw him again. Second, it was the exact same everything. Car with the hood up, outfit, even the shirt as far as I could tell. Nice and even. The way he just stood there, waiting for a car to come from the west over a hill. Since I knew his car hadn't been left overnight, it all felt very, very wrong. Lastly, the dead look on his face when he tried to flag me down. I could see him clear as day. I was going 25 miles per hour, which is the speed limit in that spot. He didn't change expression when he saw me. He just went through the motions. That was probably the most unsettling thing to me. Later that day, I asked one of my cop buddies if they came across the guy, but he hadn't heard anything. Even later on, I came to find out the cop on that route hadn't come across to anybody when he stopped by a bit later. It's a small town. Not much happens there. Not emergencies are slow to be dealt with at best. My buddy told me thanks for calling it in. Stranded motorists can get really screwed when no one is around. But also good on me for following my instincts about that guy. Basically, if you feel creeped out by a stranded motorist, call the cops, and they'll find and help them.
Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to turn on notifications to see you in the next story.